Happy Easter everyone, I'm Louise from the Literacy Place. I really hope that you've enjoyed some time with your family and friends over the long Easter weekend. We just want to acknowledge first of all that this is a really challenging and unknown time for us all, and we hope that you are managing to look after yourselves, your families, and also juggle the demands of work. We're aware that this week some schools are going back, but in a different context where you'll be managing distance learning, and we also know that some schools in Australia are on holidays and some in New Zealand. So what we thought we'd do to support you at this time is to start sharing some tips and ideas of things that hopefully will support literacy learning that you're doing with your students online. So our idea this week is using the super sentence. So if you've been to our workshops, you would have heard us talk about this as being a great little mini lesson, but it's also a really good activity to use after you've finished a writing task with your students. So the idea is that after the writing is finished, they review that either on their own or with a family member, or maybe you've got some peers set up within your literacy, within your online environment. We really like the idea of doing it with a partner because then they get that sense of audience. So they review the writing and then they select a super sentence, and this will vary depending on your criteria, but it's a great way for the kids to go back into their writing and really think about the criteria and think about a high quality sentence in their writing. So once students have selected their super sentences, you can think of a way that you could share these. So maybe you can get all your class together to share these orally, just to present them, or maybe you get the kids to publish them in some way. So some ideas on that are, if you go onto our website, theliteracyplace.com, and go into our resources section and then into the mini lesson ideas, you'll see there that there's a super sentence template, and this is a really nice one for kids to use to publish their writing. So here's an example here. This teacher had done some writing using collective nouns. So the students chose their best sentence and they did an illustration and published them. So another idea is you might want to use Padlet, which is a really great place for kids to publish short pieces of writing. So if you set up a template, you can share that link with students and they can publish their super sentences. So this teacher has done it around Mother's Day. They've made a Mother's Day metaphor poem, and the students have selected their super metaphor with their partners, and then the teacher set up this template in Padlet and the kids have published their super sentences. Another idea is sort of taking it over into reading. If you've set your kids a reading task and you want them to, as a follow-up activity, review that piece of text, you could ask them to identify a super sentence, and once again you could set some criteria for that. Maybe you can get them to look for a complex sentence or a sentence that gives some clues about the character, and they could publish that using the same template. The other thing we have, if you're producing resources for your kids to use online, is Stamp, the super sentence stamp, but you can also use that digitally. So if you go into our products, and if you go into those, you'll see that there's a graphics package there that includes all the icons and stamps and things from the books, and there is a super sentence icon that you can use and insert in your planning and work for the students. So I hope that is a useful tip for you this week. Don't forget to keep an eye on our Facebook page, The Literacy Place. We post 2 or 3 ideas a week on there, so that should be a useful place to find ideas. So yeah, have a great week. Ka kite anō.